Most people do not miss their first $100,000 because they make one dramatic mistake. They miss it because their normal life has too many small holes in it. The holes do not look serious. A drive-through breakfast because the morning was rushed. A delivery fee because the day was long. A shopping cart that started with one useful thing and ended with 8 emotional things. A nicer apartment because everyone else seemed to be moving up. A car payment that felt normal because everybody had one. None of those choices feels like financial self-sabotage in the moment. That is exactly why they work. I want you to picture 2 people who are in the same salary. One looks like she is finally doing well. Her apartment is newer, her car is nicer, her weekends photograph better, and her life looks more adult from the outside. The other person looks a little behind. She repeats outfits, drives the older car, eats leftovers, and still checks prices in grocery aisles. 5 years later, the first person has memories, payments, and a lifestyle that needs constant feeding. The second person has choices. She has an emergency fund, a retirement account, maybe the first serious down payment of her life, and most importantly, proof that she can turn income into ownership. This video is about the second person. Not because she is better. Not because every dinner out is evil. Not because joy should be removed from your life. It is about her because she understands something most people learn too late. Wealth starts as a private system before it becomes a public result. Your first $100,000 does not usually arrive through one heroic move. It arrives through habits that look boring enough for other people to ignore. That is the advantage. These are 20 quiet money habits designed for a normal income, a normal apartment, normal pressure, and a normal life that still needs to feel livable. Some will save $10. Some will protect hundreds. Some will change the way you make decisions before the money ever leaves your account. The point is not to copy every habit perfectly. The point is to build a life where money stops leaking faster than you can earn it. Before we move into the habits, it helps to understand the math without making the math feel magical. $100,000 is emotionally huge, but mechanically it is built from repeated gaps. The gap between what you earn and what you need. The gap between what you want and what you actually buy. The gap between your raise and your new lifestyle. The gap between pressure and response. Quiet money lives in those gaps. This is why small habits matter more than they look like they should. Saving $27 once is not a life change. Redirecting $27 most days can become hundreds in a month. Capturing a raise one time is nice. Capturing every raise for 5 years changes the slope of your life. Cooking once is just dinner. Having a rescue meal system changes the default cost of being tired. The habit is never only the individual dollar amount. The habit is the new normal it creates. Also notice the emotional advantage. Big financial goals often make people feel behind before they even start. The number is too far away, so they look for a shortcut or avoid the subject. Quiet habits shrink the goal into daily proof. You do not need to feel like a wealthy person to do the next action. You only need to repeat the system that a wealthier version of you would be grateful for. That is how the first 100,000 becomes almost boring. Not easy, not automatic, but boring enough to repeat. The first habit is to remove the most important transfer from your personality. Do not wait until the end of the month to see what is left. The end of the month is where good intentions go to disappear. Set the transfer for the day after income arrives, even if the starting amount is small. The amount can be $20, $50, or $500 depending on your life. The mechanism matters more than the number. Once the money leaves first, your spending life quietly resizes itself around what remains. That resizing is uncomfortable for a few weeks, then it becomes normal. A person who invests manually has to win the decision every month. A person who automates only has to win the decision once. Here is the practical version. If the number you want to save feels too large, cut it down until it becomes almost impossible to argue with. $10 is better than a plan you abandon. Then attach the transfer to income, not motivation. The point is to create a financial event that happens before your mood, your friends, your stress, and your shopping apps. Get a vote. A lot of people wait to save until they feel financially ready. Quiet. Money works the other way around. You save a small amount first, then your life learns to become ready around it. The competitor version of this lesson works because it makes invisible spending visible. The upgrade is to stop tracking with shame and start tracking with curiosity. You are not looking for proof that you are bad with money. You are looking for the one purchase you make when you are tired, rushed, bored, lonely, or trying to feel in control. Write that purchase down for 30 days. Do not judge it. Count it. Most people do not need a complicated budget first. They need to identify the expense that has become a reflex. When one reflex is exposed, the whole money system gets easier to fix. A default purchase is powerful because it hides inside identity. The coffee person, the delivery person, the quick Target run person, the I deserve a treat person. None of those identities is evil, but each one has a price. When Maya teaches this, she does not ask the viewer to become a different person overnight. She asks one question: which purchase keeps happening when you are not paying attention? That question is better than shame because it is specific. Specific problems can be redesigned. Vague. Guilt only makes people avoid their bank account. Cooking every meal at home sounds admirable, but real life breaks admirable plans. The better habit is to keep rescue meals. A rescue meal is cheap, fast, and boring enough that it saves you from the expensive version of tired. Frozen soup, eggs and rice, pasta and vegetables, rotisserie chicken, beans and tortillas, whatever works in your life. The point is not culinary excellence. The point is that the worst financial decisions often happen at 7:20 p.m. when you are hungry and your phone already knows your favorite delivery order. A rescue meal is not about discipline. It is a guardrail for your lowest energy self. The reason this habit matters is that expensive convenience usually attacks predictable weak points. Nobody orders delivery because they carefully compared long-term opportunity cost. They order because dinner feels like another problem. Rescue meals remove the drama from that moment. They also protect your future self from resenting your current self. You are not saying you will never order food. You are saying that tired, hungry, low energy, you should not be the only person allowed to design the food budget. A list is not just a reminder. It is a contract with a version of you that was not being manipulated by lighting, music, stress, or a sale timer. Before grocery shopping, before buying clothes, before ordering household items, write the list away from the store. Then treat anything not on the list as a delay, not a denial. If it still matters tomorrow, add it to the next list. This one habit protects you from thousands of tiny upgrades that feel harmless because each one is small. Small does not mean harmless. Small, repeated often becomes a lifestyle. This works especially well for stores that are built to create little stories in your head. The storage bin will make me organized. The sweater will make me look like the person I am becoming. The kitchen tool will make me cook. The planner will make me disciplined. Some of those stories may be true, but they should survive a delay. Shopping from a calm list forces the object to prove it belongs to the life you actually live, not just the mood you had for 12 minutes in an aisle. The 48-hour rule is powerful because most wants are emotional weather. They pass. You do not need to become the person who never buys anything. You need to become the person who does not buy at the peak of the feeling. Put the item in the cart. Take a screenshot. Write it on a wish list. Then leave. If you still want it after 2 days and it fits the plan, buy it without guilt. The win is not refusing everything. The win is discovering how many purchases were never real needs. They were temporary feelings wearing a price tag. The waiting period also shows you the difference between wanting and wanting to be done thinking. Many purchases are not desire. They are an attempt to close a mental loop. You saw the ad, imagine the better version of life, and now the open loop bothers you. Waiting lets the loop close on its own. If the item still matters later, it may be useful. If it disappears from your mind, you just saved money without feeling deprived. That is the quiet win. Housing is where many budgets either breathe or suffocate. The dangerous part is that housing upgrades usually feel mature. A nicer lobby, a better kitchen, a building your friends respect, a neighborhood that says you are doing well. But every extra dollar locked into rent or mortgage has to be earned again next month. If your housing cost forces every other choice to be tense, the apartment is not a home. It is a financial performance. Living one step below what would impress people gives you margin. Margin is where wealth begins to accumulate. This is where a lot of people accidentally trade freedom for atmosphere. A better apartment can be worth it if it protects safety, commute, health, or family stability. But if the upgrade is mainly designed to make your life look like your income changed, pause. Housing is not a one-time purchase. It is a monthly vote that happens again and again. When the fixed cost is too high, every other habit has to fight uphill. When the fixed cost is modest, good habits finally have space to work. A reliable, boring car can be one of the most underrated wealth-building assets in an ordinary life. Not because old cars are noble, but because transportation is a category where status can become incredibly expensive. A car payment does not only cost the payment, it can raise insurance, maintenance expectations, registration, and the pressure to keep the rest of your life matching the car. If the car gets you safely to work, protects your schedule, and does not dominate your cash flow, it is doing its job. The goal is not to look successful at red lights. The goal is to own more of your future. A boring transportation choice creates invisible wealth because nobody congratulates you for it. That is why it works. The attention goes somewhere else while the money stays available. Maya can still teach viewers to maintain the car, keep it safe, and replace it when reliability truly fails. Quiet wealth is not about driving dangerous junk. It is about refusing to turn transportation into a costume. The car should support the life. It should not become the main character of the budget. Mixed money becomes confused money. When bills, savings, groceries, fun, and future goals all sit in one checking account, your brain treats the balance like permission. Give money rooms. One account or bucket for bills. One for short-term savings. One for long-term investing. One for spending without guilt. The structure does not have to be fancy. It has to be visible. When money has a room, you stop accidentally eating the rent with weekend plans. You stop mistaking emergency savings for extra cash. You give every dollar a job before pressure gives it one. The room method is especially helpful for people who feel like money disappears even when they are not reckless. Disappearance often means categories are colliding. Grocery money becomes weekend money. Emergency money becomes furniture money. Bill money becomes birthday money. Separate rooms make the trade visible. Once the trade is visible, you can make an adult decision instead of discovering the damage later. Clarity is not restriction. Clarity is what lets you spend without constantly wondering whether you just stole from another part of your life. A receipt review is different from a budget meeting. It is shorter, less dramatic, and harder to avoid. Once a week, look at the actual receipts or transaction list and ask 3 questions. What did I buy twice without noticing? What did I buy because I was stressed? What did I buy that did not improve my week? These questions reveal patterns faster than a spreadsheet full of categories. The goal is not to feel guilty about the past. The goal is to make next week easier. A 5-minute receipt review can save more money than an hour. A vague financial motivation. The receipt review should be quiet and almost boring. No dramatic promises. No punishment. Just pattern recognition. If 3 purchases did not improve the week, write that down. If 1 stressful day created 4 small charges, write that down. If a cheap habit became expensive because it happened daily, write that down. This is how you stop arguing with yourself. In generalities, the facts become small enough to act on. Next week, you do not need a new personality. You need 1 fewer repeat mistake. Subscriptions are dangerous because they turn decisions into background noise. 1 streaming service, 1 app, 1 storage plan, 1 trial that became permanent. None of them feels large enough to fight. Together, they become a silent tax on attention. Once a quarter, cancel anything you would not sign up for again today. If you miss it, you can bring it back. Most people discover they do not miss half of what they were paying for. The money is useful, but the real benefit is psychological. You teach yourself that automatic charges are not permanent residents in your life. The subscription audit also teaches a deeper lesson. Convenience becomes expensive when it no longer has to ask permission. That is why trials are so effective. They turn a yes once into a payment forever. A quarterly audit brings consent back into the system. If a subscription genuinely makes your life better, keep it. If it is only avoiding the discomfort of cancellation, remove it. The money saved is useful, but the habit of re-choosing your life is even more valuable. The easiest time to save more is before your life expands into the new income. When a raise arrives, decide the allocation before the first upgraded month. Maybe half goes to investing, a quarter to debt, and a quarter to better living. Maybe the split is different. What matters is that the raise does not disappear into nicer versions of the same habits. Lifestyle inflation is not one giant decision. It is 1,000 small ways your life says, now that we have more, everything should cost a little more. Capture the raise early, and you turn income growth into net worth growth. A raise is dangerous because it feels like permission, and some permission is good. You should feel progress. You should improve parts of your life that were truly strained. But the first month after a raise is when the future is easiest to protect. If the old life was livable, do not let the new income immediately become invisible. Capture the increase before it blends into routine. A person who saves part of every raise can look unchanged for years while their balance sheet changes dramatically. Some categories are hard because nothing inside them tells you to stop. Restaurants, clothes, home decor, hobbies, convenience food, beauty, gadgets. A cash cap or separate debit bucket creates a visible limit. When the bucket is empty, the category rests until next month. This is not because you cannot be trusted. It is because open-ended categories invite endless rationalization. A cap turns an emotional category into a design problem. How do I get the most value from this amount? That question builds skill. Cash caps are not childish. They are architecture. A museum has walls because the art matters. A budget category needs walls because attention matters. If eating out has $200, then the question becomes how to enjoy that category well within the wall. If clothes have $80, the question becomes which item actually matters. Limits turn spending into design. Without limits, the category keeps asking for more. And because each purchase has a reason, it can sound convincing forever. If every good night requires spending money, your social life will always compete with your future. Build a list of cheap fun before you need it. Walks, home dinners, library books, movie nights, potlucks, free events, long phone calls, coffee instead of dinner, a picnic instead of a restaurant. This sounds simple, because it is. But people who never design cheap joy eventually treat expensive joy as the only available option. The goal is not to remove pleasure. The goal is to stop outsourcing pleasure to transactions. This is also a social strategy. If the only accepted form of friendship in your circle is expensive, your finances will always be negotiating with belonging. Introduce cheaper rituals. Early walks, cooking together, coffee, game nights, simple birthdays, shared errands. The people who actually like you can adapt. The people who only like the spending version of you are giving you useful information. Quiet wealth often requires building a social life that does not invoice you every time you want connection. Financial leaks often begin as ignored maintenance. The shoe you could have fixed becomes a replacement. The car noise becomes a larger repair. The loose button becomes a new shirt. The tiny home issue becomes an emergency. Repairing early is not just about objects. It is a mindset. It says, I do not throw money at a problem after neglect. Makes it expensive. I protect what I already own. People underestimate how much wealth is built by simply not rebuying the same life over and over. Repairing early can feel annoying because replacement is easier to imagine than maintenance. But maintenance is one of the main differences between people who consume a life and people who own a life. The habit says, I take care of what I have before I chase what is next. That applies to shoes, cars, laptops, friendships, health, and routines. A repaired object is not glamorous, but it is a vote against needless churn. Less churn leaves more money available for ownership. Quality is a wonderful financial principle after you know you will use the thing. Before that, it is often an expensive fantasy. Do not buy premium equipment for a version of yourself you have not met yet. Start with the basic version, borrow it, rent it, buy used, or use what you already have. If the habit survives for months, upgrade with confidence. This protects you from the fantasy self-tax, the money spent trying to become a person through objects, instead of through repetition. The fantasy self-tax is one of the sneakiest forms of lifestyle inflation. People buy the expensive blender before they have a smoothie habit, the premium notebook before they have a writing habit, the full home gym before they have a movement habit. The better order is proof first, upgrade second. Use the basic tool until the limitation is real. When the limitation becomes real, the upgrade will feel calm instead of aspirational. You will be buying support for a habit, not evidence for an identity. An emergency fund is not an investment, not a flex, not a high-drama financial hack. It is a wall between inconvenience and crisis. Keep it boring, liquid, and separate from daily spending. The amount depends on your responsibilities, but the first goal is simple. Make a normal problem less frightening. A car repair should not become a credit card balance. A delayed paycheck should not become panic. The emergency fund does not build wealth directly. It protects the habits that build wealth. The first emergency fund goal should feel reachable. Do not let a perfect number stop the first protective layer. $500 can prevent a fee spiral. $1,000 can prevent a small car issue from becoming credit card debt. 1 month of expenses can turn panic into inconvenience. The fund is boring on purpose. If it feels exciting, you may be tempted to use it for non-emergencies. Keep it plain. Its job is not to grow fast. Its job is to stand between you and the edge. Peer pressure is rarely obvious after school. It becomes brunch, weddings, trips, gifts, apartments, cars, birthdays, baby showers, work lunches, and the feeling that saying no will make people think less of you. Put a number on it. How much did approval cost this month? How much did avoiding awkwardness cost this month? Once you see the number, you can choose better sentences. I am keeping things simple this month. I am not doing expensive dinners right now. I can come for coffee, not the full weekend. Boundaries are cheaper than resentment. The price of peer pressure becomes easier to resist when you name it before the invitation arrives. Decide ahead of time which events are worth paying for and which versions you will suggest instead. I can come for one night, not the whole weekend. I can do lunch, not dinner. I can contribute this amount to the group gift. Clear limits are kinder than silent resentment. The goal is not to disappear from your social life. The goal is to stop making your future pay for your fear of sounding inconvenient. Daily checking turns normal movement into drama. Avoidance turns small problems into surprises. A monthly net worth check is the middle path. Once a month, write down what you own, what you owe, and what changed. The number may be small at first. It may even be negative. That is information, not identity. Over time, the monthly check creates evidence. You see debt shrink, savings grow, investments fluctuate, and habits become visible. Wealth becomes less mysterious when you watch the system instead of the mood. A monthly check also changes the emotional relationship with progress. Many good months do not feel good while you are living them. You cooked, waited, repaired, said no, and nothing dramatic happened. Then, the monthly number shows that something did happen. Debt is lower. Cash is higher. Investments exist. That evidence matters because invisible progress is easy to abandon. The check gives the quiet season a scoreboard without turning money into daily obsession. A frugal life without joy eventually rebels. Choose one modest joy on purpose. A gym membership you actually use, a weekly coffee with a friend, a hobby night, a book budget, a meal that makes the week feel human. Protect it, then keep the rest plain. This prevents the all-or-nothing cycle where someone restricts everything, feels deprived, then spends wildly to feel alive again. A chosen joy is not a leak. It is a pressure valve that helps the larger system last. The protected joy is what makes the plan human. Without it, the plan becomes brittle. People do not fail because they bought one coffee or one book. They fail because they build systems that require constant emotional starvation. Choose the joy that gives the most life for the least chaos. Then remove the random spending around it. This teaches a more mature version of frugality. Spend on purpose, save on purpose, and stop pretending every dollar must be either guilt or freedom. This is the habit underneath all the others. Live one step behind what your income says you could afford until your assets say you are actually free. There is a season where this looks unimpressive. People may underestimate you. Let them. The account does not care whether anyone claps. The future does not care whether your current life photographs well. Living behind your income is not about pretending to be poor. It is about giving your money enough privacy to become power. Living behind your income can be lonely in a culture that treats visible upgrades as proof of adulthood. That loneliness is part of the test. For a while, your life may not match what people expect from your salary. Let the mismatch work for you. Every month you do not convert income into image, you convert income into options. Eventually the outside can improve too. But when it does, it will be built on ownership instead of pressure. Here is a simple first 90 days plan for this episode. In the first 30 days, do not try to transform your whole life. Track the default purchase, build the rescue meals, and automate one small transfer. In the second 30 days, attack one fixed cost or one recurring charge. Maybe that is a subscription stack, a phone plan, insurance comparison, or a housing decision you are about to renew. In the third 30 days, protect the gains. Put a cash cap on the category that keeps expanding and create one cheap social ritual so your new habits do not isolate you. The reason this 90-day structure matters is that viewers need momentum. A long list can be inspiring while the video is playing and overwhelming. After it ends, the plan turns 20 habits into a sequence. First, visibility, then leakage, then protection. If a viewer only does those 3 stages, the video has still changed their financial life. That is the improvement over a simple list. The habits are not random tips, they become a system. The reason these habits work together is that each one protects a different leak. Automation protects money from your mood. Tracking protects money from invisibility. Rescue meals protect money from fatigue. Housing and transportation protect money from fixed cost traps. Peer pressure boundaries protect money from belonging anxiety. A protected joy protects the whole plan from rebellion. Do not turn this into a personality contest. Some seasons of life are expensive. Some people are supporting family, living with medical costs, handling childcare, rebuilding after debt, or starting over. Quiet money does not mean every person can save the same amount. It means every person can look for the next controllable leak, however small it is. The person who starts with $5 and repeats the behavior is closer to wealth than the person who waits for a perfect income and changes nothing. If these habits sound ordinary, that is the point. The first $100,000 is not usually built by a glamorous personality. It is built by repeated systems that make your normal day cheaper, calmer, and less vulnerable to pressure. You do not need to become extreme. You need to become consistent enough that money has somewhere to go before the world asks for it. Start with one habit this week, not 20. 1. Automate a small transfer. Write down the default purchase. Put 2 rescue meals in the house. Cancel 1 subscription. Delay 1 cart. The first win should be so small that your ego is disappointed, and your life can actually repeat it. Then repeat it. Quiet money is not loud. In the beginning, it is quiet because it is still becoming something. Give it time.